All right, good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone has their cup of coffee and is up and ready to go. So we've got this scheduled for 90 minutes this morning. The first 60 minutes is presentations. We'll be covering three different areas. If we can go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to kind of MC this thing to keep it moving along today. I'm Vice President of Sales and Marketing. I've been doing this for about 32 years, so maybe I've crossed paths with some of the people online today. I've been in consulting my whole career. From EDS, I was CEO of Whitman Hart for 15 years in an Oracle business, and now working with WhiteLight, driving JD Edwards solutions. We have Dave Clinton presenting today as well. He has 25 years of experience focused on JD Edwards, driving JD Edwards solutions. Eloy Acosta is a 20-year experienced person, all of it driving finance the last 10 years, focusing on infrastructure and cloud solutions, starting out with on-prem, colo, and dedicated services, and then over the last 5 or 6 years, helping customers navigate to migrating to cloud. Phil Tosto has 15 years of experience. He's been at WhiteLight for a while. Phil drives our RPA practice over the last 12 months, and he'll be covering what we're doing on the RPA side. Next, please. So this is kind of our topics today. I'll do the 2-minute commercial. You guys signed up for the education, so you have to listen to the commercial for a couple minutes. We'll be talking about continuous innovation, upgrades on the JD Edwards side, talking about RPA, Orchestrator, which is really confined to the walls of JD Edwards, and then what's going on outside of Orchestrator and what type of solutions are outside of that. And Phil will be talking about that. JD Edwards public cloud migration. Probably in the back of a lot of people's minds, not sure which direction to go or how to get there. Eloy's going to cover some of the best practices, hurdles, and benefits of going to the cloud. And then at the end, we'll talk about what are some of the solutions that are available, and then Q&A. Now, you can do questions during this presentation. We'll stop for a couple minutes in between each of these focus areas and answer any questions you may have. And then at the end, it's an open forum for that. Okay, next. Okay, so the WhiteLight commercial. We are a 20-year JD Edwards company focused primarily on JD Edwards since inception. In the last 20 years, we've done everything soup to nut. 20 years ago, there was still a large group of people implementing JD Edwards from the ground up. Not as many of those as there used to be with the legacy technology. So we're focusing on a lot of different areas. We'll be talking about some of those today. We grew up in the Midwest. We have dual corporate headquarters, one in Milwaukee, one in Chicago, and then we've got satellite offices throughout the country, East Coast, West Coast, and South. Big thing that we're doing, on time, on budget. I know everybody says that, but if you go back over the last 10 years, companies want to make sure the two things. One, they're going to get a return on their investment and the money spent. So if they spend $1, they at least want to have functional and process improvements and at least get $1 back. About half of the contracts and solutions that we're delivering right now are not to exceeds. Customers want to know what it's going to cost. They don't want you coming back with overrun, and they want to know when it's going to be delivered. And then the need for speed, or the speed to delivery, really is focused around two areas. One of them, Phil is going to focus on today, which is, automating manual tasks, right? The second one is, there's no magic wand on a lot of these solutions that are out there in the market right now. If there was a magic wand, it's basically experience and repeatability. So having done this for the last 20 years, 80% of the things that we do, we've done before, so we can consolidate and shrink the time to delivery significantly on projects. And then we have an onshore offshore focus. So the first 19 years has been primarily onshore, based on customer demand and the need to support our customers 24/7, off hours, weekends, and have blended pricing to reduce their cost on solutions. We've started an offshore office, or 2 offshore offices over the last 12 months. Next. So having done everything soup to nut over the last 20 years, we've really narrowed down the focus of what we're doing now. You can't be all things to all people, right? So in no order whatsoever, the things we're going to be talking about today, process automation. So again, this grew out of Orchestrator within JD Edwards, and then it's expanded greatly since then. So we're going to talk about our go-to-market approach and what some of the services and what some of the offerings are in RPA. Oracle JD Edwards, again, everything from A to Z within here. The last implementation I heard of was actually about 3 years ago. We're working with a customer on the East Coast to put it in from scratch, but we're doing a lot of work around managed services with M&A, going on like crazy in the market right now. We're doing a lot of integrations and migrations right now. We're helping customers navigate to the public cloud. Project management, strategic staff aug, as all consulting firms do. If there's a gap that you need filled and you don't want to hire somebody full-time, or you don't have the expertise on staff, we'll fill in some of those gaps for you. And then continuous improvement, which Dave will talk about, which is upgrades. If you're in JD Edwards, you're committed to JD Edwards, whether it's next week, next year, or 5 years from now, you're going to need to do an upgrade in order to get all the benefits of the new releases. And then the public cloud. This is kind of newer for us, and Eloy will touch on this. We started doing these about a year ago, but I think there's a good methodology for helping customers roadmap how to get there. And if you look at the bottom, that's kind of a snapshot of some of the formal partnerships we have right now. All right, continuous innovation. So Dave Klenn will take over from here and talk about what's going on in this area within JD Edwards. Go ahead, Dave.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. I am Dave Klenn, and I am the director of the JD Edwards practice at the WhiteLight Group. My topic for today is continuous innovation, and the agenda for today is first to understand what continuous adoption means in a JD Edwards context, share some insight with you on how to prepare for a continuous adoption mindset to facilitate quicker adoption of the new features inside of JD Edwards. And finally, to learn how to deploy solutions in Oracle JD Edwards Enterprise One without moving to a new ERP. Next. So what is continuous adoption in a JD Edwards context? Every software product or service is associated with a life cycle of a product release, and bug fixes to deliver improvements in performance, security, and functionality. ERP software upgrades have a perception of being intensive, large, and expensive projects in terms of labor and cost and disruption to the business. The Oracle JD Edwards product team is changing that perception by promoting a continuous adoption model, moving from a large, big bang upgrade to smaller, more frequent updates. So what is it? It is a software development lifecycle methodology that releases customizations, updates, bug fixes to the end user on a fixed schedule. The range of benefits in this model includes shortened development lifecycle, reduced risk of implementing a smaller number of changes one at a time, reduced cost, and a code current application environment. Next. Continuous adoption ensures that incremental changes can be deployed quickly, meeting the need for regularly updated functionality without the disruption of a large technology project to the business. With continuous adoption, both vendor and end users can balance new functionality to drive business goals while shortening the development lifecycle. Continuous adoption also ensures code currency, which has the potential to further reduce business disruption of a full upgrade. To embrace this change, everyone involved needs to recognize and accept that current IT practices may be impeding the capability to scale, open new lines of business, or even meet market demand for products and services. Next. You need a business process that allows for a short cycle development and testing in a non-production environment, as well as adopting Oracle's continuous adoption model for JD Edwards. Are you supporting enhancements or modifications that are no longer being used or that could be replaced by functions that are now currently available in the JD Edwards software? Are you keeping pace with the competition, or are they outpacing you? When you have this realization, you must make changes in your business and in IT to become innovative. Next. Your JD Edwards ERP system and supporting hardware, software, and third-party systems that comprise your IT infrastructure are all key applications and infrastructure components for your business. Neglecting this key infrastructure by not staying current with upgrades and patches presents profound business risk. Some examples would be security patches and tax and regulatory updates. These risks should be evaluated by the business in the same manner as other business applications and infrastructure items. Next. So how is the adoption for continuous adoption done? We have four steps or four areas that need to be addressed. The first one is to have a long-term strategy, have a plan, align IT and business goals. IT initiatives are linked to the business initiatives. Understand how IT enables and contributes to the overall success of the business strategy. More specific, how does the functionality in JD Edwards Enterprise One align to the business goals and contribute to achieving them? What functionality within JD Edwards would better enable your business to be more competitive? The plan should answer all of these questions and provide a roadmap. The second area is around continuous delivery. Your JD Edwards strategy or your ERP strategy should contain components of continuous delivery. Incremental updates from Oracle and JD Edwards Enterprise One. Planned updates at a set frequency. That frequency needs to be determined for what's right for your business. That could be quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. The right frequency to determine the right frequency of your JD Edwards Enterprise. Many businesses have cycles that allow for more advantageous timing of the updates. So if you're a seasonal business, maybe there's low times or times when the business is not as active. Those are great times to put in these updates into the business. All this allows for reduced risk, time, and the risk of installing these changes. The third area is to engage with a trusted partner. Work with a partner who offers managed services with proven business and technical knowledge to help fill the gap. Your JD Edwards partner can help build the plan or the roadmap needed to build an effective continuous adoption model for your organization. And lastly, embrace innovative IT models. Evaluate innovative project delivery models such as Agile and Scrum. Break up large projects like the traditional JD Edwards upgrade event into shorter sprints, quarterly updates to deliver faster value. Next. So what is the path to continuous adoption? We see this being done in two steps. First of all, Oracle has designated JD Edwards Enterprise One 9.2 as the destination release for the continuous adoption program, assuring the availability of support and enhancements through at least 2031. Oracle customers want more choice and control when it comes to upgrades. Oracle is adapting to the changing customer expectations and continuous adoption. Oracle has aligned the upgrade cycle for JD Edwards Enterprise One 9.2 with other cloud-based software adoption models in consumer devices. Next. For the continuous adoption strategy, upgrade first. The first step is establishing an effective continuous adoption strategy is to upgrade to JD Edwards Enterprise One 9.2. With almost 20 years of implementing and upgrading experience, WhiteLight Group consultants can help you plan and implement your upgrade to JD Edwards Enterprise One 9.2 for a fixed fee. Once you're on Enterprise One 9.2, WhiteLight Group Managed Services can keep your system code current with the WhiteLight Group continuous adoption model while extending your internal capabilities, providing ongoing managed support services, and filling specialized gaps within your organization as needed. Next. Again, step one is to do the upgrade and get to the Enterprise 1.9.2 for the most current tools and applications updates. In this area, this includes hardware sizing and performance, making sure that your infrastructure that you have in place will take advantage of all of the features and functions that Enterprise 1.9.2 offers for supporting JD Edwards. Also, enhancement and modification analysis to fit the organization. Upgrade to the current release of the tools, and then upgrade to the current applications release. We also include custom code retrofits, testing, documentation, and training, functional and technical support as a part of that first upgrade to get you to the 9.2 release. What's next? Next, please. After that, we have two options. So there is a step 2 option A and a step 2 option B. For step 2 option A, this is a continuous adoption support managed services model where we're doing at least one tools update and application update every year. So we have each one of those tools in the major application update. Application and modification analysis to fit your organization again comes into play. And then optionally, we can look at doing the custom code retrofits, testing, documentation, and training, functional technical support. This is optional, and this could also be done by the internal IT staff or the current staff that's supporting the JD Edwards application. Next. Option B, for those customers that have a skilled staff with JD Edwards, maybe those companies would like to just do the application side of the updates. And we offer a solution around just doing the tools updates. So we can do at least one tools update every year. There are 4 of them every year. Oracle releases these on a quarterly basis, both applications and tools. So this offering here, or this idea here, is to do at least one tools upgrade per year, and then optionally have some testing, documentation, and training, and technical support as a part of this option. Next. We have 4 managed support models that we see that can deliver the services that will keep you current once you're on 9.2. Spending all the time and money to get to 9.2, the big thing there is once you're there is to do at least one tools and one application release per year. And we have different models that allow for you to get help in getting to and keeping and stabilizing on that release and moving forward. The first one is around block time. The block time scenario is ideal where the customer has a strong level of capability and capacity. Typically, the customer will require a limited amount of support, and this can be compared to a safety net model. Block time assistance is intended to execute tasks that are well-defined and are responsibility of IT due to security or complexity reasons. Tasks such as user setups, security roles, job schedule maintenance, like what you could be described as a level 1 support, is a part of this block time. For development applications, small development projects less than 8 hours can also leverage block time hours. This contract level can address issue resolution, however, that would be atypical. Block time contracts are guaranteed 4-hour response time at a discounted rate, and associated availability on call 9 hours for a day, 5 days a week. Service calls are expected to be scheduled during normal business hours. We do not charge extra fees if you call after hours. Extra fees are only charged for emergency services calls that occur after normal business hours. The next area is around extended support. So extended support includes all of the block time assistance, plus more advanced ticket expectations and issue resolution. Often this offering is described as level 1 and level 2 support. Extended support scenarios are ideal where the customer has a medium level of capacity and capability. The customer requires a greater level of support, and this can be considered as an extension of the customer's skilled support team. Extended support contracts provide the same response time, billing, and emergency coverage as the block time contracts. The next level is the standard managed support services. Standard managed support services includes extended support, plus most advanced ticket expectations and issue resolution. Often described as providing level 1 through level 3 support, managed services also provides application monitoring, periodic auditing, and recommended future changes. Periodic auditing would focus on user compliance, data quality, and solution stability. Recommended future changes would also address changing custom business cases, maturing application usage, and vendor upgrade releases. Managed service scenarios are ideal where the customer has a low capability and capacity currently within the staff. In this scenario, the customer requires a high level of support, and WhiteLight managed services team is essential, becomes the customer's primary support team. Managed support contracts provide the same response time, billing, and emergency coverage as the block time contracts. The last level here is unlimited support, and unlimited managed services provides all of the services listed in the managed services model, plus an unlimited block of time hours and elimination of the emergency support by allowing issues to be addressed on a 24/7 format. An unlimited managed support scenario is ideal where the customer would like to shift to an outsourced model, allowing your customer's IT team members to fully focus on other value-added activities inside of the organization. This can be considered a replacement for the customer's skilled support team. Next. So in summary, key benefits of continuous adoption are smaller updates that can be applied with minimal business disruption, predictable costs, smaller releases that provide a shorter time to value cycle, and application and tools updates that are aligned with the business strategy, the plan. That concludes my portion of the presentation. Next, please.
Dave, thank you so much. There was a couple questions that came in. There's so much content there. I'll just go through each of them one by one, and maybe if you can do a quick answer for them, that would be awesome. So here's the first one. Once on a managed services plan, how do you handle major integration projects that come up or new modules that need to be added?
It's a great question. These types of projects, major integration projects or new modules, would typically be handled as separate projects. Typically, they're most likely not under the managed services scope. So they most likely be projects that would need to be evaluated and then scoped out separately.
Okay. All right. Then the next one, do you have to handle subsequent tool? Do we have to handle subsequent tool upgrades, or is that something that you can do for us?
Okay, for this one, it really depends. We need to look at how the managed services contract is written and what are the scope of services inside of the contract. Oracle puts out tools releases every quarter. So this is at the direction of the customer as to how many tools releases they would like to do per year.
Okay. Okay, and then I know we're really a little bit short on time, but let's just ask one more here, and that was, even though several of my team members are retiring, how do I keep things running without hiring more or new staff?
Another great question. WhiteLight Group Managed Services allows for you to be flexible with different support and staffing models, as I covered those 4 options. we're really flexible to also create a customized solution that's really specialized for what the organization needs. If it falls in between one of those offerings that I presented, we can allocate the appropriate number of staff and skills required to support what the client needs, current, short-term, and long-term.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave. That was a lot of content, and there'll probably be more questions as we go. But now I'm going to turn it back over to Joe.
Okay. And thank you for turning it over for 15 seconds for me to introduce Phil. Phil's going to jump right into RPA, what some of the benefits are there, some use cases, and things like that. So, Phil, you're on.
Hi guys, my name's Phil. I'll be presenting kind of all the ideas around Orchestrator, RPA, or both. I'm going to start a little bit more with what is RPA. A lot of folks have a little bit of questions, or they heard multiple different explanations. We'll get into some use cases. We have a demonstration, a video that we can present as well, and well, let's just get started. So. What is RPA? It's robotic process automation. It mimics a human interaction of a process. So if you think of anybody that has steps that they're repeating, I click here, I copy there, I paste there, I hit click save. They do that several times. That's something that we can repeat as a repeatable process. So automated processes must have, I could fill this whole slide up with different must-haves, but rule-based is certainly, it can be business rules it needs to have, and it also needs to have standardized input for the most part. And the big thing that we want to hit on today is it needs to be repetitive. So being repetitive means that, you know, it provides value to the organization, right? So if we did it once a month and we built a bot to do that, it might not make as much sense as if we build a bot to do a task that is done 50 times a day. There are two types of bot builds. One is an attended bot, one is an unattended bot. An attended bot is, think of it like the easy button on your computer. You click on an icon, you're ready, you just completed a certain task, and you know what comes next, that it needs to complete a certain task X amount of times. So somebody would have an easy button on their computer, they'd click go, and the bot would run. An unattended bot would be something that happens in the background. So some sort of administrative task that needs to happen every evening. Think of it like a batch run, but it's something that's happening automatically. Maybe it's that first thing that somebody does when they come into the office in the morning for the first couple hours. We can automate that type of task in the evening hours, or when people aren't at work. RPA benefits are, obviously, we talked about, mimics human interaction. It's quick to implement, 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the complexity of the bot build that you're looking at. I say that is quick, just based on comparison of any JD Edwards implementations as well. It doesn't rest, doesn't make mistakes, right? So doesn't make mistake part. So we talked about repetitiveness, but accuracy is also really important. If there's say I need to create an item upon an item request, that is a really important element to do that can't have mistakes, because it has you know, downstream effects, right? So if we can automate that process, we should. And it also handles structured data as well as unstructured data. However, there are so many examples of building bots that handle structured data that are much easier to build. From a cost perspective for the client. And the biggest thing is that the bottom there says it operates on any application. So Orchestrator is really confined to the 4 walls of JD Edwards, versus RPA solutions can use, you know, Salesforce.com. It can go out to an external website and grab information. It can update JD Edwards. It can use all applications available. So where does RPA fit within your technology portfolio? It is, you know, folks see the videos and they say, this is an end-all be-all product. This is amazing. Watch, you know, what else can we do with it? But keep in mind, it is part of your portfolio. It is part of your solution set. It is not the solution set for every single problem that comes up. Ran into that a couple times. So JD Edwards Orchestrator, it can make third-party requests, but it can't execute third-party requests. And then at the same time, you know, as I described earlier, it, you know, Orchestrator, it can't go into, say, salesforce.com, copy the comments out of a customer record, and then paste those comments into a sales order for that customer record in JD Edwards. So that's what RPA can do, but that's where some of those limitations take place when you're talking about those four walls. So what is that decision-making criteria? What does that look like for choosing Orchestrator or RPA? So let's take a look at that. So JD Edwards is the only system to execute transactions, yes or no. If it's no, it's RPA. If it's yes, let's move on. Are you on the proper version of JD Edwards for Orchestrator, yes or no? If no, then RPA. If yes, then move on. Do you have the infrastructure installed to run Orchestrator, yes or no? Yes, then Orchestrator is your solution. Then if no, then RPA. So you're going to find that RPA does align depending on what system you have. It doesn't matter if you're on World or if you're on JD Edwards, the latest environment at 9.2. Not sure, it's one of those. But either way, you're going to find that it doesn't care what application you're running, what level of JD Edwards you're on. It is going to work, RPA will. So Orchestrator has a little bit more of a requirements. So using RPA only without Orchestrator, here's a use case that we have here. So our currency conversion rate, it's basically we had a user that had to go in and they manually update their conversion rates, right? So their sales orders are updated, the purchase orders are updated with the conversion rates to different currencies. This needs to be done daily. It's a very tedious task depending on how many you have, and you have to go out and get the current currency rate. And so we built a bot that automatically does that. Obviously, it saves a whole lot of time, 100% accurate, sends a report of what was changed that day. So what that bot looks like is it basically opens an Excel file to be able to log the changes made, opens up the source website where we're going to capture those currency conversion rates, logs into JD Edwards, and it goes to the currency conversion rate module. Now, in that record, it will say, of course, you can have different requirements, but calculation method 1 and conversion method Z. And then if that record does not meet those requirements, then it goes to the next record. If it does, it copies, it creates a new record with the new currency conversion rate. And it will loop through that. That's a very common task within RPA, is just a loop, because that really creates that repetitiveness, right? And so it loops through all of those records, completes all of its tasks, and then it saves all the changes that it made to the application in a log file, and then sends that log out to a specific user. So to kind of see what that looks like, we will go ahead and watch a short video on that.
The intent of this video is to demonstrate the inner workings of the currency bot we're utilizing Automation Anywhere in JD Edwards. We will cover an overview of the project along with video demonstrations of key elements, a full bot run, and scheduling the bot in the control room.
The bot workbench is an area where you can create and work on different bots. On the left-hand side are all of the commands that you can use to build the bot. The center is the area where you can visualize the steps of your bot. The top area, the new button allows you to create a new bot. The record function allows you to use the recorder. The run lets you run your bot. You can save your bot. And then you can use debugging tools or set snap points that'll take pictures of certain steps of your bot. An important part of this bot is its use of the recorder function. The record function can be found in the top left corner and can be used to simulate a series of actions that'll happen on whatever you do on a web page or anything that happens on your computer. So to show an example of this, we will try this. We will refresh to get our current page. Select the JD Edwards page, and click Start. And let's say we wanted to put our username and our password, and then click Sign In. Once we're done, we will hit Stop. And we can see that our actions were recorded on the page. Another important part of this bot is its ability to manipulate and act on web pages. To do this, we use the object cloning and the manage web controller applications. The object cloning command allows you to change the path of the DOMX to find general objects or to move around web pages if you have similar objects. So what you'll do is you will select a window that you want, and you will hit hold capture and select an HTML object on that page, and then you can find an action that will best suit your needs. The Managed Web Controller is similar, except that you aren't allowed to change the path to the HTML object, and this takes a little bit longer because it actually manages and works on the web page. Loops are an important part of this bot because they allow us to repeat steps for a given number of times or based on different conditions. There are 5 different loops within this bot. The first loop, this will be keeping track of the current iteration on the main currency exchange table. The next one, this tab, will be tabbing and moving throughout the table to select different records. The third one will be to iterate through the subtable so that we can verify that there are previous records with 1 and Z. Our fourth loop is to enter in the currency code, and this will be on the Create a Record page. And the final loop is to up arrow back to the beginning of the list so we can set a route.
We will now perform a full bot run. In this demonstration, the bot is logging into JDE Edwards, fast pathing to the currency rates, and looping through all existing currency conversion rates. It will validate that the calculation method is set to 1 and conversion method is set to Z. It will also validate that the rate has not been updated that day. After looping through all the records, it creates a spreadsheet identifying all the changes made and emails that attachment to the specified resource for review. Now let's move on to promoting the bot to the control room and running it on a schedule.
Automation Anywhere lets us schedule bots to run at predetermined times. To schedule these bots, we must be in the control room. Then we will select the Bots tab on the left-hand side, and then the My Bots tab. We will then select Run Bot, and then Schedule Bot. We will then select the task bot that we would like to schedule. Then we will designate our bot client to run on, and then we will schedule the bot to run. Once you've designated a time, click Schedule Bot, and the bot is now scheduled to run.
The intent.
So I understand the video is a little quiet, but it definitely shows you some of the inner workings of building a bot, running the bot, and also scheduling the bot on a schedule for the unattended bot process. So here's another example of a bot that is ran with RPA only and not in combination with Orchestrator. So this is a cost rolling example. What they're trying to do is they're trying to grab the direct material, labor, and overhead costs from a work order, and they're currently doing that on spreadsheets, and it's prone to error and it takes a very long time. So they created an unattended bot to complete this task, and it runs on a weekly basis. So the result is they really saved a lot of time. They went from this task being taken a month all the way down to 1 week. And it had 100% accuracy and obviously increased profitability and employee satisfaction. If you think of the employee that had to do all these tasks on a regular basis and to be able to have that automated, they probably wouldn't go somewhere else where they had to complete that task again. We'll go over 2 examples here of a hybrid approach with Orchestrator and RPA as well. So this one is in accounts receivable collections. So the challenge was chasing down past due balances and aging accounts. And Orchestrator provided a REST API that RPA was able to send out messages via phone, email, and text to any aging accounts or past due accounts. It freed up tons of hours for the individual having to do this task, as well as it increased the balances that were paid on time and significant savings in just the collection process in general. And the last one here is on manufacturing and account reconciliation in the finance area. So reconciling all accounts from a SQL query. So this was a manually done, and it had to create reports in Excel. What they did is they had the bot create or complete the SQL data query and then create the reports from the different systems that they had and send that out on a regular basis. I believe that was a weekly basis. So they basically, in hindsight, they changed 50 hours of work into 5 minutes with 0 errors, and they can get that report whenever they want. So that was a really big deal. That combination of these two solutions really impacted this business. So how do you get started? Where do I start? And that's a great question. And we do have some preloaded different agendas that you can see on the right-hand side. But at the end of the day, we can do either a 2-hour or a half day or a full day evaluation workshop. And this can be really up to you. If you're in the process, you're saying, well, I don't know which RPA platform is best for me. Well, let's go through your business and decide which, and your budget and your bandwidth, and decide which one's better. Perhaps you might have a situation where you need to understand, I need to create some bot ideas. How do I get there? So let's invite some resources in and do that. So this really is up to you. This is very customizable, although we do have some pre-configured agenda items as well. And you might say, well, how long does it take? We talked about it taking, 2 to 6 weeks. And, once we've done an opportunity assessment that, we say what's important to your business, we do a feasibility assessment, making sure those bots can be completed. Complexity assessment to determine how complex these bots are going to be, which also determines how much effort is going to go into it, and we can determine your ROI on it. Once that's all figured out, and we have a campaign of bots that we're going to go at, and here's bot 1. Once you say go, it is about you could even be shorter, but 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the complexity of the bot. It doesn't seem that long, but the bot building process is probably the smallest portion of it. It's really making sure we capture all the right requirements so we're doing the right task for you as a client. So, we have some questions. All right. So getting into some of the questions you might have, let's see. Do you need to be on a specific tool release for JD Edwards to add RPA to your back office automations? I think I alluded to that a little bit earlier. The answer is no. It doesn't matter what tools release you're on. If you can do it on your computer and like we say, it mimics human interaction, you can do it with RPA. How long does it take to build a bot typically and an AP task? So AP automation, you're talking about probably reading PDFs and a little bit of intelligent, they call it not task bot, but IQ bots or anything like that. I would say that would be leaning towards a little bit more of the complexity level. So I'd say that's a more 4 to 6 weeks for the AP automation. And can you build one bot and have it run on multiple tasks? Difficult to read that question. I'm going to answer yes, you can have multiple tasks. In Automation Anywhere, they would call those metabots. So say we create a bot that logs into JD Edwards. So clicks on the link, go to the JD Edwards link. If it's somebody's already logged into it, it logs off and then it logs in. And so we start fresh. So that would be considered a metabot, basically a kind of a bot within a bot. And what they call those in general is reusable components. So now we have that bot, so we can use it on another one. So we can run, we have a task that follows that. We can compile that all into one bot. And then the next bot we build, we don't have to build that beginning part of it. There might be reusable components that we can use, which that's kind of compounds the benefits of building multiple bots, is that the more you build, the more reusable basic components that you have, and it decreases that time of implementation. So hopefully that answered the question that was out there. And that's what I have. Thanks for.
Thank you. Thanks, Phil. Informative, helpful. Hopefully that gave people a high-level overview of what's going on with robotic process automation. All right, so the third leg of this will be Public cloud migration. Eloy drives this for our organization and help companies roadmap out their cloud migration plan. So Eloy, take it over.
Awesome, Joe. I hope you guys can hear me clear. I appreciate everybody's time today. I appreciate our existing customers. It's great to see you guys and hear from you guys, the new guys. Those who haven't worked with WhiteLight Group, welcome. I hope you're finding it informative, and I hope that you're enjoying the time with us. Cloud, right? There's no way to get around cloud today. Anything what you're doing within IT today has to touch on cloud and cloud solutioning. And WhiteLight recognizes that, right? We know that historically, like Joe mentioned, we've been on the JD Edwards side, right? And we've been looking at only the application layer, but we recognize that our customers are now coming to us with cloud questions and cloud components and wondering, where do we go with this, right? We know that only about 10% of JD Edwards customers have gone to the cloud yet, right? They're working to figure this out. And WhiteLight's here to help you out. WhiteLight's here to assist you through this process and not make it so scary. So if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. So WhiteLight in the cloud, right? We have all heard of these horror stories from a cloud perspective, right? We've all heard the horror stories. We've heard how crazy complicated it is. We've heard of environments that have exploded, right? And are becoming unmanageable. At WhiteLight Group, we don't want that to occur, right? That's not what we're about. Our existing customers know that this is a partnership, right? We've supported their applications and their solutions over time in a partner capability, and we want to ensure that they are just as successful as we are, right? And we have to ensure that that success grows. So we've all heard the stories of cloud costs exploding. Once they click go, all of a sudden these charges start showing up. And they look around and they go, what are all these fees? We had no idea that we're paying for all this. What is this management component, right? What are all of these network connections and data charges? And what is an EC2 instance now? What's going on, right? We've seen instances or heard of the stories where environments have just started to propagate and explode, right? Because now you're on an on-demand environment. And all of a sudden, you've lost control of the environment in the historical sense that IT organizations have been able to do that. Historically, we've had that standard ITIL governance, right, where you go, you submit your change control, all of a sudden you spin up a virtual machine or you rack and stack your new server, and boom, you have access to it and you start deploying your applications. In a cloud environment, you have a credit card, you log into the account, you spin it up, 20 minutes later, you're live and you're racking up charges, right? The other thing that occurs, right, that cloud kind of starts to involve is who's responsible for what. So you start running into situations where, oh, the app team's spinning up stuff, the infrastructure team's spinning up stuff, security's spinning up stuff. Everybody's spinning up these items out there for the environment to grow, and we're all still trying to figure out what is going on, right? So we want to ensure that we don't have those things occur. And the final one, I think the one that's the most pressing, is obviously security, right? Security is just key. And organizations are out there looking at every piece of their environment and saying, how do we ensure it's secure, right? How do we make sure that if it's on a public cloud, it's secure and safe, and we are minimizing our risk? Some organizations have HIPAA components out there, right? Some organizations have the PCI items out there. Some organizations, at the minimal, right, you just have your employee data, and that is of big concern to ensure all of that is secure. And that's what we're here to help you with, right? We are here to help you ensure that your business is successful. We want to avoid all of these common pitfalls. We've seen these pitfalls before, right? Many of us have been a part of these programs or have participated in some of these programs in our past lives where we've seen these scars, and we know that these are real things that occur during cloud migrations and cloud implementations. At WhiteLight Group, we want to ensure that we avoid all of those at all costs, right? And again, our existing customers will attest. We are a partner. Our new customers, I hope you guys give us a shot to show us our partnership capabilities so that we can walk through these cloud migrations and cloud journeys with you. Next slide, please. So where does WhiteLight stand when you talk about cloud strategy, right? We recognize that all of our customers are unique. We recognize also that we can't be everything to everybody, right? So as Joe alluded to in the very beginning, we want to ensure that we walk that careful balance, right? We recognize that our existing customers have unique items in their environment. And you can see from our strategy, we try to keep it very simple, but very dynamic as well, right? So we believe that you have to start with the assessment, right? You have to be honest about what's going on within your IT environment. Our existing customers, we know what's going on. Again, we have that partnership with you guys, and we're able to start stepping in and talk about these transitions to these cloud services and what could be best for you. New potential customers, we will take the time to really understand your business. And as I walk through the later slides, you'll see some of the questions that we're going to ask. And if you guys already have a consulting partner or a solution provider out there, hopefully they're asking some of the same questions we are, because if they're not, they could be missing something. And we want to ensure that you guys, again, are successful, right? So from the strategy perspective, we go through the assessment. We do not predetermine an environment or cloud solution provider that is fit for your organization. We don't. We recognize that each one of you have a unique demand and unique need. I'm sure some of you are probably looking at the slide going, I can't believe you don't have Oracle Cloud Infrastructure on there, right? JD Edwards is Oracle. It's not to say that we don't support Oracle. It's not to say that we would not even recommend Oracle. We do. And we would even bring in IBM Cloud. We know that that's growing, but we recognize that the big three are the primary solution providers that most organizations are looking at. And we recognize that most organizations aren't even selecting just one of them, right? Because if you went pure Azure, and if you had O3 and you're operating O365, like many of us saw just Friday, you saw that O365 went down, right? And that impacts all of us. So many customers are using some form of a hybrid approach today, right? Where you're having some environment loads work in Amazon, some are in Azure, and then maybe some in Google. But most of the time, you're going to have some sort of combination of both. Finally, we obviously offer the managed services piece for our cloud environment. We want to ensure that you guys are operating in a successful environment once you go live. So our strategy really completes those three items, right? We assess, we don't pigeonhole you into a single solution, and then we want to ensure that you're successful towards the end once you go live. I'm going to dig into the assess level a bit more, because that's where most of the customers are today, right? They're trying to figure out where they're at. So if you don't mind going to the next slide, let's talk about some of this assessment activities that we believe in at WhiteLight. Your journey starts with really modernization and readiness, right? You got to be honest about where you're at today. And within IT organizations, right, you can get a different answer about how many applications are running in the environment, what is connected to what, how much certain things cost, what operations and functions are being completed on a day-to-day basis. You could get those different solutions and different answers depending on who you talk to, right? But we've kind of sat down and said, okay, what are the big components that we really need to focus on, right? So we've said we need to really focus on discovery. We need to ensure that we are aligning our major stakeholders onto the roadmap. We need to understand the applications. We recognize that application is kind of a generic phrase. I come from a very large organization where, depending on who you talk to, they might say we have 700 applications. The other group might say 800, right? So it kind of depends on the size of the organization and things like that on applications and whatnot. But we want to spend the time to make sure we identify those applications for you. Then we're going to go through. We're going to modernize, right? Cloud is a great time and an awesome point in time to go through this journey, right? And to really look at your environment and your infrastructure and say, let's modernize some of these things, right? Maybe your goal is to get on containers. Maybe your goal is to take some of the customizations that you've had out there and put them into the containers. Maybe you want to just containerize an application. Maybe you just want to try containers and orchestration components like that. And then finally, right, you want to put together this roadmap. When you're going through and we're aggregating all of this information, we don't want to minimize the discovery aspect, right? Alignment of the key resources is extremely, extremely important. Many of us have been in instances where we've gone through proposals and we're presenting them to maybe our executive teams, and the security group comes in and says, not going to happen. We're not going to allow the environment to operate for whatever it may be, right? Or guess what? We don't have regulations and rules and governance set up for AWS. It has to be in Azure, right? Sometimes sometimes those conversations happen too late in the process, and we don't want those things to occur, right? We want to ensure that we're going through the discovery, we're aligning our security groups, we're aligning our infrastructure teams, right? We want to ensure that if their goal is to get to triple active or to ensure that they have a really, really strong DR positioning, that we incorporate these things in there, right? Cloud enables these things. It's a great time and an opportunity for us to evaluate those solutions. And the discovery piece shouldn't be minimized in this process, right? It's really the foundation, and everything kind of layers up off of the discovery phase into the roadmaps. So at WhiteLight Group, we're going to spend the time to talk about these major areas and ensure that we understand where your organization is and where we could take it to modernize. What we do, though, is we take all of these components, and this is where WhiteLight comes in and makes it very personal to you. So if you don't mind, going to the next slide. We take all of those components and we aggregate them, as you can see at the bottom, to that cloud assessment. So there is no way around it that business is operating from a financial perspective and cloud is costly. And we want to ensure that we minimize those costs for your IT organizations, right? These are major changes in certain instances, and there's no way around not having a clear line of sight of what it's going to cost your organization and how this is going to help you guys overall, right? So when we're going through these assessments and we're understanding the discovery, we're understanding your applications, we're understanding how you want to modernize and move forward, and we understand what your roadmap is over time, we aggregate all of that information into an output that we call the cloud assessment. And that cloud assessment will deliver a couple things for you that are very powerful and that you can use going forward and kind of build off of and adjust as you see fit for your organization. So when we're going through all these discovery activities, right, you got to understand where your on-prem infrastructure stacking costs are today, right? And we're going to leverage database analytics for that. We're not going to, you have to know how much your IT organization costs today. And that's not an easy number to come to. You don't just go to your P&L and understand and look at the bottom line and say, oh, net operating costs are, $1 million or $2 million. There are a lot of things associated with that, right? There are a lot of things that go into what's your depreciation cycle, right? Do you have things that are capital leases that you're not necessarily including on the income statement straight up? How much cash flow do you guys really have available for your organization to deploy in the infrastructure? And what does that look like over time? You might be only at 1 million today, but guess what? You haven't refreshed your infrastructure in 10 years, and next year you're going to have to spend another $10 million, or you're going to have to expand your data centers, or you're going to have to get out of your data centers and do some form of migration, right? You have to know where you're at today and what that might look like for tomorrow. And that's where that second piece comes in, aligning where you're currently at and your future needs to that optimal cloud partner. When you're done dealing with us from this stage only, right, this is just the beginning, we're going to be able to say, guess what? These three solutions, AWS, GCP, and Azure, this is what we think your cloud infrastructure cost would be compared to your IT run today and what you could be spending over the next 5 years. Is this the road that you want to go down, right? And each one's going to be different, right? Each one has different features, functionalities, cost points, and some have different incentive programs, right? So we want to make sure that we capture all of those activities to give you a clear lens into what the cloud cost is going to be, because that's usually what it comes down to, right? It comes down to that bottom line. What are those cloud costs going to be? We'll deliver that proposal to you guys, and you guys can make your determination from there, right? We can pull things out, we can change things, we can look at your time frame, we can adjust your horizons, we can look at dipping the toe in the environment with maybe just a DR positioning, or maybe a non-prod environment to test a non-critical business application, or we can just say, yeah, we're ready to go and we're off to the races, right? Moving forward, though, right, once you're done implementing, you can't lose sight of the continuous optimization. And on the previous slide, I alluded to it briefly with the managed services side. Continuous optimization is just critical, right? And this speaks to the managed services piece. Once you're gone live on the cloud, you don't just set it and forget it, right? You now need that new management, that new governance, those new security postures, and those new rules of the road, essentially, to ensure that your organization is optimized and continues to be optimized. Because remember, this is on demand again. Your cost will fluctuate. And if you do not have the right controls, you do not have the right governance in place, those things can quickly become out of control. And that's the key piece from the continuous optimization. And we can deliver a proposal to show you what that might look like and how that solution would evolve for you to assist, right? Because again, got to ensure that we're a partner. We want to ensure that you're very successful, and we do not look at this as a factory, right, and a cookie cutter. Here you go. Here's your standard assessment. Boom, you're out the door. We really want to partner with you guys and make sure it's the right thing for your organization. So my last slide which is the next one, is if you're serious about going into the cloud assessment, right? These are some of the things that we're going to talk to you about. And this is by no means exhaustive, right? This is not intended to be exhaustive lists. This is intended to be illustrative, right? And I challenge you guys and I implore you guys to really look at this, right? And if you're looking at a current cloud partner and they're not asking you some of these questions, they're probably missing something about your infrastructure costing and your solution that you should be aware of. And if you're new to WhiteLight and you want us to come in and start looking at some of these items for you, these are some of the things that we're going to ask you, right? I'll just use the first one as an example, the policy data, right? Your organization your financial implications for your organization are contingent upon how you work through your capitalization policy. So for example, I'll give you a very simple one. If you have an existing data center today and you're doing the standard rack and stack and you're currently doing your standard refreshes within a 3 to 5 year period, you have that depreciation running on your balance sheet right now and hitting you're hitting your P&L. So when it's hitting your P&L, those are costs that are going to go over time, right? For the next 2 to 3 years. You have to be aware of how those costs over the next 2 to 3 years would be impacted if you were to change that today. And how is your finance organization going to respond to that, right? So our solutions are intended to pair the financial consequences with the IT solution and ensuring that your business partner needs are all met. And we touch all three of those. So the capitalization policy is just one example of that, right? Application is another one. Maybe your licensing solution and the way you've structured your contracts might not allow you to go to the cloud, right? That's an assumption that most organizations make, but doesn't necessarily mean it's the case. We need to review those things, and we need to ensure that you have the right licensing. We want to ensure that you have the right contract in place to go to the cloud, and ensure that once you're there, you have the optimal cost structure and licensing for your organization to go forward. And in the middle, right, we have some general IT information, right, where we talk about resources. Your resource roles and those people doing that work, it's going to change. It's going to change once you go to the cloud. Or even once you get it and you start using the cloud, even the smallest bit, you have a new environment that you have to manage. So what teams are going to drive that activity? Do you have the right skill set? Are the people that you have today, do they need to be reskilled, retooled to understand these cloud solutions now? And how is it going to get managed? So all of these things we're going to come through and evaluate for you guys. If you are currently, like I said, in a position where you've started the cloud assessment with another partner and they're not asking these questions, challenge them, push them to get you answers to these questions, because these are important things that will come down the road, down the future, before it's too late, and it could impact you guys financially, and it could impact your solution. So again, we're here to help. We're here to be supportive 100% for your organizations. I think Joe will, at the end of the presentation, will give you guys all of our information and whatnot. We, again, are here to help for these cloud solutioning. I hope you found this very, very informative and helpful and just spurred some thoughts. And I think we're all set, right? I'm the last one.
Yep. Yes, you are. Okay, a couple questions.
I said no questions. I'm not responding to these. No way. There's no. What are these?
There you go.
Eli, we just got a couple. I know you're going to be able to answer them so well. So here's the first one. Is there one public cloud that is easier to move JD Edwards to over another?
No, not at this time, right? JD Edwards can operate on any environment, right? It can operate on Oracle, it can operate on Windows. So at this point in time, it's really not one cloud is easier than the other, right? Infrastructure is still the infrastructure. And the solutions are there across the board. What I think is more important to ask is, what solutions do certain cloud providers offer that you as a customer may want to take advantage of? They offer a similar suite, but obviously some tools work differently, right? And you might want to capture AI ML through Azure, or I'm sorry, through AWS versus Azure. And those are things that you should consider as a client, and really think about when evaluating the cloud partner that you want to use. We have the experience to move the JD Edwards application, as Joe's mentioned, and you guys have seen 20 plus years with JD Edwards expertise. It's not a matter of which cloud the application can run on. It's really a solution for you as a business team. What's easier to operate out of?
Gotcha. Okay, here's the second one. Does it make sense to move one application to the cloud at a time, or are there cost savings in doing multiple applications at one time?
This is really actually contingent upon the organization, right? So again, when we were talking, each customer is different, right? Some organizations are flushed with cash, and they're willing to and they are risk adverse, right? And so they're willing to jump in, and they might move major components of JD Edwards into the cloud environment, or others might want to dip their toe in a little bit better to see how it operates. This is the key piece that I hope I got across to everyone when we were talking, is we want to ensure we partner with you, client and customer, to make the right call for you, right? We do not have a dog in that fight. And once you start using the environment, you can scale it up, scale it down to reduce cost. We're here for you guys, and we'll do one application, we'll do a major move. It's really up to you, and we can solution all of that.
Okay, all right. And now just one last one. So how comfortable are you guys with migrating JDE to the cloud? JD Edwards is a bit tricky, and I worry about all the pitfalls that come with it.
If there's one thing I have extremely high confidence in, is our team. Our team is exceptional, and the clients that have worked with us, they've continued that relationship because these guys are experts at what they do, and we have no qualms with our level of comfort in migrating JD Edwards to the cloud. Every application, every solution is tricky, right? It doesn't. I know many of you guys on the call today have tried to just move a standard CRM tool, right, from one server to another during to do patching or fixing, right, and something breaks in that process. All of those things are just as likely to occur with JD Edwards versus another application, and our team responds to any of those. We do our absolute best to make sure that there's no downtime to your business, right? Because if you guys are successful, we're successful. So I feel very, very comfortable with our team's ability to do it. I think anybody who's worked with us before has been very pleased with our JD Edwards activities, and they should feel very, very confident in what our team's capabilities are. And that's it. Those are too many questions. I only said I said no questions, and then you ping me with questions. This is crazy.
Thanks, Eli. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Eloy. Finally, I'm sales, so it's been hard for me to sit here for an hour not speaking and bite my tongue the whole time. So, anyways, where do we go from here? Next slide. All right, the fun part. Let's talk about the free stuff first, right? Nothing's free in this world, but maybe there are a few things that are free. Workshops. So this is our way of getting to know you, right? We do a one-day free workshop for JD Edwards usability tool. So what does that mean? When you own JD Edwards, you have a whole bucket of things that you've already paid for that you might not even be using, and you might not even know you have them, Orchestrator being one of them. What we'll do is give you one of our analysts or architects, sit down with your team for a couple hours, half day, a day, whatever it takes, talk about what you have, what the benefits of what you have is that can be applied to your organization, if you're using it, if you're not using it, why you're not using it, and kind of help you roadmap some of those benefits. Two is, and Phil talked about this earlier, JD Edwards RPA workshop. So what we do is we come in, these will go anywhere from 2 hours to 8 hours. And this is really, and I'm going to spend a second on this to tell you why we really invest in doing this day. So we really go in, peel back the covers on this thing and identify the areas that have the most benefit for RPA. So we've been doing RPA for about 9 to 12 months. Started out with Orchestrator, now doing it with UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Kofax. And we're kind of going to market unique with this because part of it was, how do we get this practice off the ground? Two is, how do we introduce ourselves to you at no risk? And when I say no risk, The unique way that we're going after this market is once we do this one-day workshop and you identify a list of bots that you want to put in place. We're currently working with one company that's identified 10 bots, but they're starting with one, and they're going to see how that goes, and then they're going to get business unit buy-in and go from there. So we will frame up at the end of that workshop the bot that you want to go after, what the effort's going to be to do it, and the timeline, and what the cost is going to be. So Phil alluded to this earlier. These things go anywhere from 2 days to a month. So they can be $1,500 or they can be 20 grand, right? You do not pay us until you realize the benefit of that bot. So usually the bot equates to time saving. So if we're able to identify 1,000 hours, 2,000 hours, we have one customer that wants to save 1 million man hours a year. Not sure how we're going to approach that one. You do not pay us our fees until you recognize the savings in those hours. So this is kind of unique. Even if you don't have a budget for RPA, this creates a budget. So if the cost is $10,000 to put a bot in, you don't pay us until you save that $10,000 in cost on the back end. So hopefully that makes it a little more palatable for our customers to get in that and see some of the benefits of that. And then for what Eloy was just talking about, we'll come in and we just did 2 roadmaps in the last month with existing customers. When we come in, we spend a day with you, understand your footprint, understand where you're at, where you want to go, and then all the things that have to transpire to get from point A to point Z within the cloud environment. And that may be a full cloud migration, that might be pulling financials off and putting in the cloud, or BI and putting it in the cloud, or WMS and putting it in the cloud in the step process. We'll walk through it there. So we don't charge for any of those things. So what do we charge for? Next slide. Okay, strategic staffing, managed support. There's no way around this one. If you need strategic staffing to fill gaps in your current organization or current projects, we do that. Time and materials, not to exceed if it's longer than a couple months. Again, on the managed support, it's a hybrid model. So one of the reasons we went to offshore is the 24/7. We've got several billion-dollar global organizations that are having us support both applications and infrastructure 24/7, tier 1 through 3. We also have, on the opposite side of the spectrum, organizations where the staff is aging, they don't want to put a lot of money in technology, they want to run business as usual. So you'll see organizations just hire us for 100 hours a month, and that's to keep AR running, that's to keep manufacturing running, that's both an analyst and developer and help desk all in one person. So we're open to any of those scenarios and any hybrid model of that. And then the other thing is, we do a fixed bid assessment. So when Dave was talking about continuous improvement or an upgrade, right? If you're committed to JD Edwards, you're going to do an upgrade at some point in time. This is the time of year actually where a lot of organizations bring us in. We're doing a couple of these now, and we do a fixed bid $5,000. And what we do is we build your roadmap. It's got roles, responsibilities, timelines, costs, staffing, all of that stuff in there. And at the end of it, you get something tangible, right? If you fail to plan to fail. It's 100 years old, but it still makes sense today. Where this becomes free, this is my little sales pitch here, is the $5,000 that you fixed bid to get this tangible project plan, which is going to get you from point A to point Z. We will credit you back that $5,000 if you leverage or use us for any of the work on the upgrade in the future. So that can essentially be washed out. And that's something you can do today, even if you're 12, 18, 24 months away from planning on the upgrade. So that's my little sales spin at the end of it. I think we're open for Q&A now. If anything else came up, Mary Lou, that you saw online while we were doing this?
Yep, there was one question regarding RPA, and that was what tool is used to create a bot?
There are several tools out there. We have partnered with UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Kofax. We partnered with 3 different ones just because people, one, have a preference, just like purchasing a car, you have a preference of what you've used or what you've seen. Maybe you've provided a recommendation from somebody else. So that's why we have 3. The other reason is some of them have different cloud and better on-prem solutions. And they also all have different little bit costs and capabilities as well. So we partnered with 3, so we make sure we're finding the right fit that fits your business and your budget. So Automation Anywhere, UiPath, and Kofax, I know the first 2 of them have a free download. You can check it out, take a look at it, play around with it, push buttons, have fun. and you kind of see what's a good fit for you. What would you like to use going forward? So I hope that answers your question.
All right. Is there any other questions, Mary Lou?
Not at this time, no. And we do have one more slide there that has all of your contact information on it and how they can follow up.
Yeah, let's pop that up. So anyways, if there's no other questions, we'll wrap this up today. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Hopefully this wasn't salesy. It's supposed to be more about information and then kind of differentiating how we're going to market with this. The one thing I'll tell you is from a JD Edwards perspective, we've been around doing this as long as JD Edwards been around. I've been around since System 36s, 38s, and AS400s, where this whole thing was grown. And you look at guys like Dave and some of our other leadership, they've been doing this a long time. So you're not going to find more expertise than you'll find at WhiteLight. The other thing is it's really about partnering, right? It's about building relationships. We don't expect you to come in and sign a contract day one. A lot of customers will just ping us for stuff. We've got, customers that started out just asking us for advice, what we're seeing in the marketplace, a certain direction. We do that for free. We're not a law firm where every time the phone rings, we hit a button and you get charged for that, right? So we want to prove ourselves to you, right? That's why we do not to exceed. That's why on the bots, we do don't pay us until you say. We hold ourselves accountable for what we promise to deliver to you. So thank you, Mary Lou, for organizing this whole thing today. Great job. I think it went off well. Thanks, Dave, Phil, and Eloy for your expertise. And having breakfast and coffee with us in the morning. You see my contact information. We'll send everyone a copy of this deck. You see my phone number? That's my cell, 24/7. I used to run a cloud company for 3 years. So to me, the 24/7, my phone was ringing. So have a great week. Please ping us with any questions. And thank you again so much for your time today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.